For the last 5 years, I've worked as an architectural designer. I was constantly working towards a goal of mine I had set out to achieve all the way back in 2020 to become a licensed architect. For a long time, I thought architecture was going to be the creative life I had always wanted. In some ways, it was, depending on what we're talking about. But somewhere along the way, I had lost the reason I wanted to pursue architecture in the first place. Hi, I'm Sara. I'm 32 years old, I'm a wife, I have 2 daughters, and I'm currently in a somewhat frustrating, but also somewhat exciting point in my life where I feel like I'm rebuilding a lot of what I thought my future was going to look like, career and family-wise. And now, I've somehow worked up the courage to get back to my roots and become an artist again. I originally went to school for visual arts with a focus in painting and drawing, since art was always the thing I naturally gravitated toward growing up. It was a talent I had that first manifested itself rather early, I guess around kindergarten. In college, I experimented with everything: painting, sculpture, photography, printmaking, and even video work. Here are a few of the things that I made back then. And while I loved making things, I had this growing fear in the back of my mind that I wouldn't actually be able to build a stable life financially through art. So eventually, I started looking for something that still felt creative, but maybe a little more structured. And that's when I went on to pursue a master's degree in architecture. Now, I will say, from the outside, architecture seemed pretty intimidating for a long time. People always described it basically as extremely difficult and overly technical. Especially the words "too much math" was something that deterred me from it for a while. But once I actually entered the whole architecture world, it really felt surprisingly natural to me. I really gravitated toward the combination of logic and creativity. I loved thinking about atmosphere, light, materials, and spaces people would actually live inside of. And truthfully, architecture basically unlocked a passion for creating that I very rarely had at any time in the past. I really became obsessed with presentation drawings, renders, physical models, all of the visual storytelling aspects of architecture. But even then, in the back of my mind, I remember looking at my architectural renders constantly thinking, this would make a really nice painting. If you're interested, this is where you can see some of my architectural work. After graduate school, I started working full-time at a larger-scale commercial and residential architecture firm. At first, I was excited. I thought I was finally stepping into a career I'd worked toward for years. But pretty quickly, I realized it all just felt off. The commute was long in both directions. I'd only spend a few quality hours with my daughter before she had to go to bed. There were actually many things that didn't sit right with me, but that's probably a story for another video. But in short, it wasn't the work I envisioned doing as an architect. Despite working at a good firm, I didn't see a clear path to get to where I wanted to be in the position I was in. I slowly realized that the environment I was in, and the version of success that was constantly being pushed on me, wasn't actually aligned with the life I wanted 10, 20, 30 years down the road. I just kept looking ahead and thinking, if I continue down this path exactly as it is, where is this going to take me? What kind of life will I be providing for myself and my family? And eventually I had this nagging and growing realization that somewhere along the way, I had ultimately lost the original reason I was pursuing architecture and a creative life in the first place. It turns out that I didn't need to be the next Bjarke Ingels, and I had no desire to climb the corporate ladder. I miss creating things that felt true to me in my life. If I was going to stay in the creative field that still included architectural design, I realized it meant making some sacrifices, risks, and more calculated choices now that'll ultimately reveal the path to a way of life that's true to myself. Around the same time as my big career switch realization, my husband and I were becoming more intentional about the kind of life we actually wanted for our family. And after having our second daughter, a lot of things started to become clearer. And success in the familial sense starting to look different as well. Slower, more personal, more creative, more connected to home. I realized that what I really wanted was to build a life centered around creativity and family, instead of constantly feeling pulled away from both. So recently, we made the decision to homeschool our children and begin restructuring our lives around that vision. And for me, that means returning to art again, while still holding on to parts of architecture and design that I genuinely love. So where am I going from here? Well, because of these lifestyle changes, we're actually planning on renovating this house we bought a little over a year ago. The idea is to resell it and eventually buy something more affordable, since the steady income we thought I'd have after graduating isn't really there anymore. So basically, this channel is going to be a place where I document that process, getting back to my art and building that as a career. Staying true to what architectural design means to me. Renovations, creative routines, probably mistakes, but hopefully growth with it all. I don't fully know yet what this next chapter looks like, but I'm cautiously optimistic and excited, and I hope you'll stick around and follow along as I figure it out. Anyway, if you found this video somehow, thank you for being here. I'm really excited to see what this slowly becomes, and I'll see you in the next one.